Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hitting that play button for another episode of the Hetty Coleman Podcast, where I sit down with fabulous people and have go-win conversations.
What?
Go-win is being consistent, doing the right things that allow for you to achieve the wins that you have defined for your life so that you can live out your greatest story. I want three things to happen. I want you to learn. I want you to be inspired. I want to see community happen out of this podcast. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm bringing him back for round. How many times have you been on? Twice? This is your second time?
Probably so. Second time. Different location. First time at this location.
Hey, the second location.
That's right. Every time you move, I want to go to a different location.
I'm going to bring you on every time I move. The first one, we will not go as long as the first one. The first one, I think we almost went 2 hours.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did. It was so long. Long. It's a time crunch now. We're all in different places in life, so we don't have the same freedom that we once did. Greg Hawks, ladies and gentlemen, the founder of Hawks Agency. Do you call yourself the founder? How do you say that?
Just owner. Just
owner.
Yep.
He's an owner, not a renter.
Yeah, that's right. I'm an
there
owner.
Is a difference.
I use that word very specifically.
He's an owner. He's not a founder. He owns the thing.
I own it.
But you also founded it. You started
it is.
What year did you start
it? 2009. Wasn't called Hawks Agency then. That didn't come around until 2014 and named it. So I've had 5 years before I was like, all right, this is the name I'm landing on. This is what we're going with.
Really?
Yeah. Because a lot of time I had my own business. And back when I first started the business, it was called Relational Resource.
Okay.
So that's because I was, very relationally minded, and I thought lots of value comes from community. It's probably why you and I are friends.
Yeah.
Some similar beliefs and all that. And so, but then I did a lot of subcontracting when you and I connected and doing all of that kind of work. It was before.
And so at that time, it was not called Hawks Agency.
It was not. It's called Relational Resource. So that was the LLC. It was an LLC. And so then in 2013, stuff shifted. It's like, all right, you're not gonna be able to do, what Jack and I were doing, all the traveling, the stuff that kept me really working for most of the year. He was like, our grant has changed. Money's not available. Hope you make it in life, kid. So
see ya.
Deuces. So it wasn't quite like that. I was like, I got some good things lined up. So I was like, all right, I've got to land on a business model. And so I went with Hawks Agency with my kids. It was like, hey, if you kids ever want to do anything,
I remember
your
that.
name on it and that. So also it says Ha, like that's, if you look at my business cards, it's H, and I think it's kind of funny that people are generous enough to give me money to speak.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I got you. Ha.
I didn't get him. I just find great delight and joy in that idea.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Like the Hawks Agency, speaking agency, kind of come out, help with culture, help with.
We do a little bit of consulting,
a little team building, a little consulting, all the things, create these incredible events.
One Big Days, so excited about those.
One big day, full of energy, company coming in, you just feel that whole day.
Feel the whole day.
But you start out really communicating as a communicator. Do you remember the first time you got paid for a speaking gig? You're like, oh, this is... Not, it didn't have to be
literally
heavy.
You and I would talk about when people would pay me money. I'd be like, do you know how much they pay me for an hour?
Yeah, then I remember when you got bougie on, but we won't talk about that. But yeah.
You're like, wait, what did you say? Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, how dare them bring me down to Stillwater for an hour? I won't say how much it was, but I'm like, oh, Greg has lost his mind. That's what has happened here.
Yeah. So some people would take a week to make that.
A week?
Yeah.
A week? You still have lost your mind. There's some people not making that in a month. A week.
That was a long time ago. So do I remember Listen, I've shifted the model. You'll be interested. I mean, I've shifted the way.
Talk to me about it.
Because I've got a business coach, which I've never had one of those.
Yeah.
I've got a new business coach that we started
3 calls every day.
3 seeds, plant 3 seeds a day.
Oh, seeds.
Yep. That's his philosophy. But the way he also thinks about money is different than how I've thought about it. And so I'm really grateful. He lives life by a 30-day schedule. Everything is done in 30 days, and you reset every 30 days. So even like here in the new year, like when I don't know when this will play, but starting when you transition to the new, like changing of 2022 to 2023, Doesn't matter. January's just another 30 days. And you're working these, and so he calls it a 12-month rolling goals. And he has we do a lighthouse kind of 10 big goals in the 10-year period. And you're working towards any of those that you want to in a 12-month rolling period. It's a really different way of thinking. And it's been really great. But always on the first of the month, reset everything. Money, things you're aspiring for, and you reset to zero. And what are you trying to accomplish in those 30 days? And so there's so in the business model, it's the booking, the booking of it, the delivery of it, and there's a third one. Kind of maybe the promotion. Honestly, I don't know why that's slipping my mind right now. But the idea of you can, even like, so in December, if people aren't speaking out a lot, you can still be doing booking, you still be doing work, and you're keeping these 3 streams alive of booking, marketing, speaking.
Booking, deliver it.
No, there's a third one. Literally, it's literally just escaped my mind. I'll have to get it to you because it's the 3 lanes. So you can always be succeeding in one of them. So even if you're in a season like I've got like 4 in a January, but sometimes like November, December are less speaking. It's like, but if you're still doing your 3 seeds and you're still working towards that, then you can define success of your business by that. But it's literally every 30 days, and so he has all these Excel spreadsheets that we're tracking how we do. So because of that, he's given us, we have a 30-day goal, a financial objective every 30 days. And so instead of looking at an event based on the individual event, like what are they paying for that, we look at it and go, how much more do we still need to make this month to hit our goal of generating that much money? Mm-hmm. It's been a shift. And so so
like, let's say that we have a goal for February, right?
Same goal as January, same goal as same goal. We have an annual, like it's the same.
So
goal.
It's an annual, but it's a rolling.
We do it based on 30 days.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it'll add up to 12. There'll be an annual, but there's a monthly objective that you book X amount of dollars that month.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't. He and I talked about it going to the new year. And I'm like, I'd like to hit it. Like, it's like, it's aspirational, but also possible. And so I'm like, if we could just set that as the things we're going to keep that in it. Cause he said, hey, we're 4 or 5 months in. Do you want to change your monthly? And I'm like, we haven't hit it enough we hit it 3, we doubled it once, which is, we had a really great month of bookings. And then in December, we didn't get it. I was so bummed.
But the last couple months. Let me also make sure that we're hearing you correctly. So it's a matter of booking that amount, not actually
delivery of it.
Yeah. No. But you mentioned delivery of it.
So you track that also. So you track your delivery, and then when the money comes in.
Okay.
So there's some of that you're tracking on these spreadsheets. So he's very he's just giving me ways to think about it that I haven't before, and so it's caused me to accept business that on its own, I would be like, I don't know about that. But because I'm trying to...
But when you're trying to reach that...
I'm trying to reach this month.
That adds to that.
Yeah. I need that for this month.
Yeah.
I'll take it. So it's a whole different... Because, in the speaking space, they're all about fee integrity and have these things. And this is like, we're trying to hit a monthly goal.
Yeah.
And so it's just a whole different model that's been really good for me. And because I have a team now, that contributes to it. So if Monica or John, they contribute to my monthly goal.
Team of speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is where we're trying to get in the month, whether I generate it, whether it's on one big day, whether John or Monica, whoever, that's the Hawks Agency monthly goal.
That's good.
Talk
to me about the 3 seeds. I was fascinated by that because you said that he told you that if you do these every day, you won't have anything to worry about.
Nothing to worry about. Just life will be good. And it's harder than I thought it would be because I run out of people. Because, and I've been in business a long time, but it goes from cold calling. I'm not going to just cold call. The idea is 3 seeds. He likes phone calls. So I'm like, I'll do phone calls. So and he's really great at the minute phone call. He's called me before. Hey, okay, got to go. It's great talking. I'm like, that was less than 2 minutes. That's so impressive. I feel seen, I feel heard, and he's on with life. I'm like, dang, okay. I appreciate him doing that. So it's that kind of, where you just want to touch base. It's a lot of leaving messages. So it's also about being thoughtful about the message, because it really is personal touch with a little bit of business thrown in.
Yeah.
Hey, just want to let you know, this is what's, I'm not driving. I'm going to Minneapolis. And so I'm on a road trip here and just want to touch in and see how you were. I loved when we did whatever, because it's people I know. It's not just random. And so, I can be strained. So we're being really intentional about, I am like trying to lay it out, because if I do it just day to day to day, I'm like, who do I need to get out my phone? I'm scrolling. I'm like, shoot, I just called them 3 months ago. I guess I'll call them again.
Hetty, I know I've called you 5 days in a row, but I got to meet this quota.
I got 3 seeds, and you seem like fertile ground right now, so I'm dropping them seeds hard.
So what have you done to find more seeds, I guess?
Well, one of the things, funny you should ask, because he has great language. Like, that's the other thing. He has this language that he talks about target-rich environments, about being in target-rich environments. So we did this thing called the Culture Shot last month, and it was HR. It was the HR specific. We've done 2 of them now, and they're kind of our virtual hour where we're jamming in a lot of good content, fun, giveaways. First one was 90 minutes, and it was for anybody.
I've seen this on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then this one we did with an emphasis. And so we decided we're going to do these culture shots every couple of months that have an emphasis. So it's just this the community of people who are in a certain industry. And we spend a lot of time in the HR world. And so we did one with the HR professionals. And so everyone that registered now becomes candidates they're my seeds. They're people I can follow up with. It's like, hey, it was a touch point. You were part of something we created. So now I've got 150 names that are like, okay, that's going to take me a little bit. Reach out to them and do that. So we did an event with the Chickasaw Nation that, like, the attendees were there, and they're in different branches of serving. Again, it was kind of a smaller group, but they serve the whole nation in both the government side and the business side. And so that's also a place then. So they were part of something. I spoke there. John spoke there. And so that's how. Like, so it's like these are fresh. Yeah. They're connected with us, because it's not a cold call. It's not like, hey, I saw you on LinkedIn and I'm just going to leave them. So it's intended to be, maybe not warm, but at least known. Yeah. Right. So there's some sort of soft connection, or they've been a part of something we did before. So, if I had some audiences of some of the places I've spoken, that would be a thing. If they were, again, if I spoke in Wisconsin SHRM this past fall, I don't have that list, but if I had that list, it'd be like, okay, there's 1,100 names of people that I can just start, because they were exposed to me. Yeah. We didn't all talk, but there's a connection of some point. So that's
they would be point. Familiar with.
They would know who I was. Yeah. I'm interested in who they are and what they've got going on.
So it's not calling people who you've never.
It's not a cold call.
Yeah. Okay.
They have to be, and so that's what I told. I was like, and so we talked about that. Well, then, what are you creating where you can be in target-rich environments? So that's part of his languages. So with this one big day, you want to get in front of more C-suite people who make decisions for the whole company, that they already have events already. I'm not trying to get somebody to make an event. I'm like, if you have an employee event, and you've been doing it every year, this will be better. Yeah. That we're going to refresh, that we got a whole approach that's going to make it better. So if I can get in front of a group of those C-suite leaders who would make that kind of decision, I would do that event with look. I would be.
That was so challenging. You couldn't even say it. Did you?
I would use it as a marketing. It would be a marketing.
You can't even say.
I don't do that. I do it with intent. The exchange of value would be different.
He was like, you can. It's okay, Greg. You can do it. Yeah. You can do it. That's cool, though. It's cool to hear you talk about, because we've been doing this for a long time and listening to you and watch you build your business successfully and all that. And now you've come into this new way of kind of approaching how you're getting work and meeting your goals and all that stuff. It was really cool. And
it's different.
I love it. I love hearing it. And, just even the 3 calls, it's amazing. Like, you're paying for this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this guy is coaching you, doing that.
Yeah.
But you can come have a conversation with somebody like me, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to try my 3 C's.
Yeah. Listen, I for a while on LinkedIn, I'm just saying, here's what I'm learning this week. You should do this too. I'm like, I kind of feel, because he's given us all these Excel spreadsheets that we're using, and Monica like put one out or something. I was like, I think that's proprietary. We can't give that away. I think it might have been our weekly instigator where I was talking, because I was just talking about it. I was like,
somebody was like, let me get that.
And I was like, we can't put that out publicly. Like, that's a private, like, that's, we don't own that.
Yeah.
So it was really fun. But it is that kind of idea where it's like, this is really interesting and a different way of looking and a different way of thinking. And, he came on in September, really. And so I don't want to say it's because of him, because we already had a lot of good stuff, but this was my best year.
Yeah.
Like, I had the worst first 6 months of my business ever in 2022. And the last 6 months, best I ever had, that made it my best year financially ever.
Yeah, that's incredible. And
by about 25%.
That's legit.
It's pretty significant.
Yeah. And so to have that for a whole year now,
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll
now
see
you
how
can
that
really kind of
contributes.
see what that looks like. But I think anytime, when I think about go in, it's all about those measurables and what are those things you need to be consistent in? 3 calls, right?
Yeah.
The win is this. What do I need to do to get to this? Make 3 calls, change out your mindset each month, redoing. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, that idea of just going, all right, everything's back to
reset
0.
every month.
And we're just doing these 30 days and we just live by the 30 days. I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. Cause it keeps everything feeling like, you can have some momentum, but also it always keeps it in perspective. Like, all right, we're back to 0. So you got to keep on doing what you're doing. And so listen, he thinks about, he has like 6 sectors of clients. Oh, that's a sector 3 client. What are you talking about? What? He has LeBlancian language. That's called, his name's Mark LeBlanc. And so I'm like, he has his own terminology for everything. Yeah. And so we're literally cleaning up our database, and we're going to put sector 1 client, sector 2 client, sector 3 on thousands of names in our database so we can adhere to it. I'm like, I'm paying this guy money.
I'm going to do
what he says to do. It's a hardy undertaking, but it helps us clarify like our efforts. Yeah. So Sarah, she's been with me 5 years now, and she does a lot of prospecting, a lot of outreach. We'll target whole industries. It's like, hey, we're having a lot of success in credit unions. Let's reach out to every credit union in the nation. Let's reach out to CUNA, all the credit union, the organizations and the leagues, and all this stuff. And
now, when you reach out to when you say let's reach out to every credit nation in the nation, are you like getting online and just credit nations? Or?
Yeah, I've shown you that like a Sam Richter tool. There's a little tool out there, so that we use that, and then depending on we've done best places to work campaigns. So whoever's the best place, top 10 best places to work, like every region has that. So we'll pull those up, and she does all of that. And so Mark's even talked to us about how because we've been very, we use this PubMed, personalized, useful, brief. Like, that's our effort. So you have to learn about the person. So when we reach out to them, we're like, hey, we know you love dogs. We love dogs too. Let's hire us to speak at your place, or something like that. It's something where it's that sort of deal. Yeah. And so we spent a lot of time kind of trying to know the people. He has this thing called the perfect fit client, the right fit client, the good fit, the wrong. He has 6 different. So
is that what they would call
different fit? So you can even have a wrong fit client and do work with them.
But at least
listen, this isn't going to be a long term. It's just a one-off kind of thing. And it's 20 different elements.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. And when you look at his, I am a perfect fit client for him. I literally fit everything he says. It's weird.
Wow.
It's creepy weird.
Listening to this, like understanding this gentleman has been doing this for how long?
40 years. He started when he was 22.
Yeah.
He started a business and wanted to be in speaking and start speaking. So he was in NSA. He went and met people. He's got stories of, I mean, it's 40 years. He's literally been in the business 40 years. He was the president of NSA for back in 2009 and running stuff. So like he's served in the speaking industry. So now he just primarily coaches. And I'm more of I say I'm a perfect fit client. He generally has more people who coach, who are doing consulting. I do mostly keynote speaking. And so I'm a little outside because usually it's like you keynote speak, you coach, and you consult. And that's like the triangle of this industry. And you use your keynote speaking to get consulting business, and then you're consulting. I'm like, I'm just going to keynote speak.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a difference because he has a lot of people he coaches as coaches.
Gotcha.
And so it's really interesting.
So listening to you, like we're talking about, you've already been in since 2010, like
having my own business.
Yeah, having your own business,
yep.
kind of doing the same sort of work, right?
Yes.
Speaking,
yes.
some consulting, whatever the case may be. One of the things that you and I talked about is like, there's people who are trying to get into the business. How can we add value to them or give them a little something? I remember when Derek, our mutual friend, wanted to get into speaking.
He's like here every other week. Like every time I'm like, dang, that guy gets to hang out with Eddie a lot more than I do. Derek, if you're listening, Derek, I'm in your seat. That's what I feel like. I'm sitting in Derek's seat.
But when Derek wanted to speak, right, we got like 5 or 6 people met at Hoboken.
I remember that.
Yeah, and was like, hey.
And he's for real.
And he's now in a place, I think I love that kind of stuff when we can connect people, add value to them, and see them go. And so because of your longevity and what you've been doing, I asked you to kind of come share some right things that you feel like people should be consistent in or considering going into a speaking business. You mind kind of sharing sharing those 5 things?
Because you know what, with Hawks Agency, let me just say this, we've shifted to having Monica and John. Part of my business model now is finding people who are talented, gifted, who have something to share, and bridging that, because it's hard to leave. It's hard to get into this business, to the on-ramp on it without somebody already in there. Like, and so I love the next decade. I want to add 1 or 2 people a year who are not in the business, but have something really powerful and profound to offer that I can get them in the business and create a platform for them and do their own messaging. Like we were just talking, Monica and I were talking today, is like, other people in this space would bring people on and have them do their content. Like, I don't want anybody else talking about my ownership message. Yeah. Like, do your thing. You're gifted, you're talented, you got something to share. So 5 right things for people starting out in the business.
You want to go through them slowly, then we'll come back and dive into them. What's the first one?
First one is get an identity for yourself. Like, you've got to know who you are to bring into this space. And so I drive my brother crazy because I was doing confidence, I was doing relationships, I did all these things, and he was like, "Man, pick something, dude." Because I'd have him create all these websites for me. Like, that's why Doug, I got a new idea. The confident me. That's what I am now. I'm the confident me. So I'm saying you do this, but it's a bit of a process.
Yeah.
So all these,
it
none of these
happen.
things are like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do.
That's right.
But the 5 right things are struggle to find that identity. So once I landed on Hawks Agency, ownership, culture. Like, once I was like, okay, this is the umbrella I'm working under. This is the space that I really have my own sense of identity and contributing. Because in this industry, there's a lot of do I have the credibility to bring something of value?
Yeah.
Because I'm always like, who's going to pay you for that?
Yeah.
Why are they going to pay you for that? Because it is a business. Anybody can speak for free anywhere with really good content. Yeah. But so being really, and that's a process. So again, that took me a little while. Yeah. That's why it's like being consistent in working out.
Is there any, just be consistent in bringing it back to the table, plan it out.
For yourself.
Yeah, for yourself.
So then you're landed on.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, I'm culture.
Gotcha.
Like, I'm locked in, I'm ownership, and I'm in culture because there's a lot of space in there. And that, in this space, everybody's always like, pick a lane, pick a niche. And it feels like it's very narrowing. It's like, I could do so many things. Yeah. Everybody that's in this feels like that. Like, but for the sake of everyone else that doesn't know you, identify yourself, feel good about that identity. And then once you get in, it kind of branches out.
Yeah.
Like you got lots more opportunity in that. So
What's the
identity,
second
second, man, create a killer message. Create a killer message that you want to do for the rest of your life. That you're like, this is, and some people have like a message that's, well, I won't expand on it.
No.
Let me say this: create a killer message that has value to others.
Yeah.
You gotta have that.
Yeah.
Some people have messages and they're like, man, that's a great story, but ain't nobody caring but you and your mama. Ain't nobody gonna give you any dollars for that.
Grandma cares. Grandma cares. Mama cares. Okay, what's the third one?
Third one, pick a strategy. Pick a strategy. So I went with HR, right? I'm not an HR practitioner, but some people do Chamber of Commerce. Some people are in sales, and so they go. So when I say pick a strategy, it's almost like pick the industry you're going to do. I did HR and I did SMPS when I started out, and that's all I did. I'd go speak at these HR conferences, and I was like, all these people represent businesses. I'm my best marketing. If I get in front of somebody, and they're like, we need this in our company, great. And there's a whole nother space, SMPS, Society of Marketing Professional Services, that's in the kind of construction, architecture industry, engineering industry. And I did that for a couple years, and it was like, and I went onto their national, I did a regional, and it's like, I just don't think I fit. Like, so I did that for a couple years and then realized this isn't the place where I need to keep exerting energy for it. So kind of have that strategy. Then fourth, and maybe these two may be reversed out. Find other people who are further along the journey that are in the space you want to be. So, I believe that's a philosophy of life I've always lived, but it's pretty significant in this industry. Most people are generous. Most people are willing if you have something of substance, because people get asked all the time, I'm sure, like, can I pick your brain? Can I go to lunch? And can I, whatever, can we have coffee? And there's a willingness if there's some sort of like, you already have some credibility. That's why I like these others first. So you're like, I got an identity. I kind of got a message here where I'm feeling. I kind of know what space I'm in. Because if you don't have that to offer when you finally meet with somebody, like, okay, so you're not for real. I see. Never mind. Hey, come back. And so they won't meet with you. But when you're able to articulate that and have that with somebody, it's really, really great. And then you want a fifth one on consistency on doing. I mean, there's so many we could do, Hetty, but probably I would say for starting out, let's just say this: speak as much as possible. Go speak as much as possible and get as many recommendations as possible. Like I leaned into. I mean, I was LinkedIn recommendations. Like you can go there now, and I got 150, 160 because I was like, every time I spoke, I was like, can you write something for me?
Yeah.
Because I need to build some credibility here. Because, the whole business of speaking when you're marketing yourself is diminishing fear. Because whoever is hiring you, you reflect them. And so if they don't know you, which they don't, having recommendations, it's really great. Now, people in this space will be like in the marketing, get yourself a demo video. But if you're not solid in these other things, like get out, don't make a demo video if you haven't spoke 20 times. You know what I mean? Like, because you might think you're good and your mama might think you're good. But if you're trying to build a professional career out of it, then don't do all these before you go make your demo, because you want to get out because here's what happens, and you know this to be true. Particularly when you're working out your message and you're speaking the first time, new things come up, stuff doesn't work. You're like, you created in a kind of a vacuum. Then you bring it out and you're like, that didn't make any sense. It made sense in my mind. Now I'm out here. Or the feedback you get, people will tell you what they get out of it. So all of a sudden you're going, oh, that is good. That's better than what I said. Let me put that in my message. So you work, before you create your demo video, like speak the message enough so there's gravitas and like comfortableness in your confidence in what you're delivering, because that kind of translates on video.
Yeah.
And you definitely want a video. People have to see that, again, because diminishing fear, they have to be able to see, oh yeah, you can speak.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what you say is good. Oh, all people in the audience do laugh.
Yeah.
That, that kind of thing.
No, that's good. Yeah. These are good. These are good for those of you out there who have this hunger to build a speaking career to
Listen,
jump in there.
It's available.
I was about to say it's there, but it doesn't come easy. Right?
It does not come
easy. It doesn't come easy. So let's just kind of walk back through these just so I can make sure that I'm kind of clear on some of these and just maybe ask a couple of more questions. So 1, get an identity for yourself.
Yeah.
And so you said that you kind of was bouncing back and forth with your brother, making websites,
yes,
things like that. And then do you remember that point where it's like, okay, Hawks AGC, this is what I'm going to do?
Yes.
What was it?
And well, it was... What do you mean? What was
like?
it?
What was it that this was the thing?
Because I just saw when Jack, we shifted all that stuff. It was forced upon me. I have to have something, and I've been piddle-diddling around, being subcontractor, doing all that, and so I could play with all this stuff. And so my brother, we do all these things, and it's like, all right, you got to go to the marketplace. You're fully on your own. What is that going to look like? And so I will say I did have a guy that I was meeting with that was in the speaking space that I knew that was local here. And so I would bounce things off of him. But I was already kind of doing some of these things. And so working through some of that, I used this guy to go, okay, I feel good about this. So I guess I was forced to, it was like, you're on your own. You don't have no subcontract money. Whatever you're going to make, you're going to do it as you. And credibility. So my history before speaking in the marketplace was in a nonprofit, faith-based nonprofit world, which oddly does not have a lot of credibility in the marketplace.
In the for-profit
world.
Yeah.
But I'd owned investment properties for the last decade. Had a lot of experience there. And so owning and renting. So literally the last 20 years of my life didn't bring a lot of credibility to what I was attempting to do, even though it was very leadership centric, even though I worked with teams, even though it was culture. I extracted all the knowledge from that and I packaged it being able to say, I've been a real estate investor for 10 years. I've owned and rented. And so I leaned into that because it also gave me credibility that I didn't think my nonprofit life gave me in the for-profit world. And so that was part of it also, because I just had to say, okay, where do I think I have credibility in the marketplace that I can stand on? Again, where I can be confident. So it was the forcing of the timeline. It was where I felt like I had the most credibility to stand on. I very much in culture, because I was like, I can do leadership, I can do team building, I can, and again, so you're like, settle on something, man. It's like, okay, I can do culture, and whatever comes out of that or doesn't. And it also enabled me to consult. And that's where I was doing more consulting, starting off just on my own, where that all just kind of resonated, all within that space. And so I was like, and I did consulting on culture that. So I was like, okay, this is it. I started that in that transition period.
Yeah.
And so it all just aligned for 3 years in process.
Yeah.
So I'm saying it aligned quite a little process of it. So it wasn't like I just sat and took a weekend and was like, all right, who am I going to be and how's it going to work?
Yeah.
I mean, I did that multiple times.
It took getting out there, playing around, get some opportunities to kind of help you get to that place.
Well, and I was trying to do a business.
Yeah.
So also, it always comes back to me, who's this valuable for?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to pay money for it? Is this something of value to others?
Yeah.
So because even
that's hard to that's hard to really get to and kind of really see if is this going to add value? Because sometimes you think something's going to add value, you be like, it's not adding anything.
Yeah.
It's not doing it for people.
Yeah.
And so you got to kind of
Yeah, so you got to
Yeah.
keep. Okay.
You gotta keep
I thought this
working
was
it.
awesome,
Yeah.
but nobody else does. And so I better go back to the drawing board. And again, that's that working that out, because I have this confidence message now. I started with that. I was like, confidence, man, that's the place to be. And it just didn't land anywhere on anybody's radar for like, yeah, we need somebody to come in and talk about confidence.
Yeah.
I was like, man, salespeople, this is a great.
Yeah.
And it wasn't convincing because I don't have a sales background.
Yeah.
Right. So I lacked a little credibility in that, full of confidence. And I'm like, I can be confident. I do not lack in confidence. And so I got a great message around it. And it was literally the first message I ever did in the Oklahoma HR the first breakout thing I ever had public for in the HR space. It's my confidence message. And I was pumped about it. And it was fun. But there was nobody that was like, we need our people to be more confident. It was a little too intangible.
Gotcha.
And if people in the audience were insecure, then they were like, no, thank you. I'm threatened by this message. Like,
yeah. Who is this guy slamming his desk?
Right.
Yeah.
I feel exposed. Like, that is not this.
That's not what I was
Now I
wanting.
insert it in almost every message, and I still have a confidence message.
Yeah.
And it's morphed and evolved. But so that's what happened.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, the confident.me website, it's going away. It is not my identity. Shoot.
That is not the one.
That is not the one.
But you end up on with owners versus renters.
Owners, renters, yep, vandals. People
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I believe in it. So, and I live it. Like that. That's the other thing to help, like, and it's evolved. Like, I've been doing this message for over a decade.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. I have people still that like, it's sticky language.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about, like, I mean, the best thing is when you speak and people are like, 4 years later, we're still using it. We're not just talking about you being here. We're using that language and that thought process. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, that's what I like.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so the second one, create a killer message that adds value to others.
Yeah, so that's similar to what we were just talking about. And so that's what I realized with the confidence message. It didn't create value for others. It just didn't. And this ownership message, oh man, everybody's owned or rented a house. Everybody can relate to it. Excuse me. So it's a really, easy message to get.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no friction in understanding the concept, because now all of my messages are analogous, and people use the language buy in, right? So like everybody's like, we just need people to own it around you. I just need you to buy in.
Yeah.
So I piggyback on a philosophy that already exists, right? And yet within that, and this is, I didn't predetermine it, but I did know people talk like that. Like, people want people to have ownership in their organization. But as more time went on, I realized, everybody has a subjective opinion of what that looks like. And what I'm doing is bringing objective principles. Here are 5 attributes of what it looks like to have an ownership mindset, ownership spirit, to be someone who's really bought in. How do you turn, and it's evolved for me. So like, how do you define the difference between an owner and a renter? Owners bring heart, head, and hands. Renters bring hands. Right? So renters are good people. Renters are doing hard work. They just don't care like they used to, and they're just not using their imaginations and thinking and creativity like they did. Then it's like lease purchase. How do we get people to buy back in? And so it is evolved. But literally, I had a discovery call yesterday. Small team, and the guy's like, we've got people who've been here a long time. I think they're all owners, and yet they just do the bare minimum. I'm like, well, kind of by definition, that's a renter. But he's like, they've been here 15 years, and and I do talk about how time is not the right metric to use on if somebody's bought in or not.
Because renters are being a renter house,
bro.
I mean, your analogy of the stove, right? That's that story about the stove. Those people
lived there for a decade,
and they hadn't fixed this. All the eyes weren't working on this.
You still remember some of the messages?
Come on, man. We're not sitting here like No, like you're my man. Like that impacted me. We brought it in and did it with our team.
Yeah.
At the church, and we talked that like, yeah, no. Yeah, you want me to give you the rest of the message? I have it down.
You got it.
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
I can tell you the stories. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
So that is it. The stickiness of stories, right? So I decided also, I do a whitewater rafting message.
Yep.
I do a marathon message. I do a camp out message. I do a message around going to concerts. And so like all of my messages, because of the way I'm wired, I want to have relatable stories as not just in it, but as the entire framework for it. Mm-hmm. And so that's what also evolved for me that I didn't originally. Like I'm doing this owner's renters message, and I had my whitewater rafting, and then I'm like, I'm going to do a marathon. I've been running marathons. And so all of a sudden, that's the other thing with, on this point, a killer message that has value. I've identified, that whole structure then. Like if I can, instead of like inserting a story, people are like, they love stories. Like if the whole message is built on the framework of a story, like owning a house or renting a house, that framework then, running a marathon, what all of that entails, then it's stickier, like people remember it. Even if they haven't run a marathon, then all of a sudden stories come back about that.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that would be the case when I started, but I like it.
Yeah,
It evolved in it. So going to that first one, like starting one that you love and that has value, it's going to have some sort of resonance. People are going to need to get it. And there's all different kinds of speakers, like I'm just speaking for mine, but there's technology speakers, innovation speakers, sales speakers, and so they have different approaches to how they do it.
Yeah.
I like mine because it works for me.
Yeah. Some of that get an identity for yourself in the process
it
of that.
Plays on top of it.
Yeah. You got to figure out what's your strength, what people are connecting with, because you see somebody else doing it doesn't mean that it's going to work for you, right? If you see somebody else delivering a message, doesn't mean that you can deliver that message like they can deliver it. So all this kind of goes back. But there is this important piece of that is like, make sure it's authentically you, right? And I think that works more so than what people ever would think. We often try to see people and I'm like, I want to be Greg.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Be you. Because you may not be able to get away with Greg is.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's something about what people like. They're like, how the hell did he say that?
Yeah.
I said it just out of who I was.
Yeah.
And so people can sense that.
Yeah.
Right?
You can get away with stuff being you.
Yeah.
Whatever you can bring. Yeah. That's for sure.
So, all right. So we talked about getting an identity for yourself, create a killer message that adds values to others, pick a strategy. And I love the way that you said this as far as like, hey, HR is kind of our strategy. Like that's who we're going after. That's who we're trying to get.
I didn't know how else to get into businesses.
Yeah.
Like I don't know I didn't cold call a business. Like my message is for corporate culture.
Yeah.
How do you go knock on a door and do that? So obviously I've worked with people for a long time and had lots of leadership. And so HR, like local state conference, had an open call. Anybody could apply to speak. They still do that to this day. Any state conference in the nation opens it up. You can go on their website. You say, here are the 3 points. Here are the 3 takeaways, and they'll consider it. So so for me, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So when I first started, I did Oklahoma, then I did Kansas, then I went over to New Mexico, then I went to Virginia. I'm like, I'm just going to apply to all these things. And wherever I can get in, I just need one person to go, we want that. And it pays for it. So that was all my marketing. So I never do anything free, Hetty.
Oh, I know.
I do. That's not entirely true. I do. My charity of choice is Regional Food Bank of Oklahoma. Let's pump the Regional Food Bank of Oklahoma.
I love that.
So,
my charity of choices.
It is. It is my charity. So anybody gets something, I'm like, that's really, let's just take that and make a donation to the food bank.
Yeah.
I'll do that in state in several situations. But it's marketing.
Yeah.
Right. And the way Mark talks about it is target rich environments. So for me back then, a room full of HR professionals who maybe aren't decision makers, but they are door openers. They will open the door and say, come on in and let's talk about how you could serve. That I just picked it.
Yeah.
Like I'd never been to an HR conference in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty aggressive in targeting people who are decision makers and inserting myself into their life. And so there's plenty of funny stories with people here in our state and other states that I have aggressively inserted my life into theirs, and their life is the better for it, I will say.
They won. They won because
they didn't know their life would be better.
They won because of this. So you pick a strategy, insert yourself, and hope and pray that they win because of your insertion. For sure. But that's good. I love it. You talked about maybe it's not HR that you're picking as far as your strategy goes, but maybe it's chambers. Maybe it's franchises,
Rotary,
Rotaries. So
there's healthcare,
schools.
Exactly. There's people doing school assemblies.
Yeah.
They're like in the teenage.
Yes.
And I love that.
Space.
Miss that. And Monica's doing some of that now. So very excited. We're in education, or just higher education, paradigm shift.
Yes.
Right. Where Derek's serving with Jared.
Yeah.
Like they have a whole business model that's just universities and government fund. I'm like, I wish I could have tapped into some of that.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing.
Yeah.
But so there's a bunch of
All
different
sorts
markets
of ways.
out there.
Yeah, figure it out.
And where you feel, I felt great with HR professionals because I've done a lot of leadership, a lot of team things, and and culture, and so I've been active in that. Whereas other people, whatever their backgrounds are,
yes, would be the place.
Yeah, small business owners
are a great place to start.
A great place to start. It's not limiting, but having credibility, like it helps, or at least taking whatever your background has been and utilizing it in the messaging somehow, so that feels like it's relatable.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is. There's a bunch of different ways people do it.
But also, I want to make sure, like, picking that strategy, a big part of your success has been your willingness to put yourself out there, right? And I think that's a big piece. Like for me, like my personality is not like yours. I won't just jump out there. I got a message that I have that I'll go around and talk. And maybe you may come to a place of finding your own way, but man, you got to be bold. And if you're going to really get out there, for me, I'm not as bold. So I don't get out there as much as you get out there.
Right. But it's my entire business.
Yes, it is your entire business. But I'm saying, like, you're not going to have a business if you don't get out there and insert yourself. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
Don't fool yourself.
Yeah.
You got to.
There's nobody coming knocking on your door.
Nobody's coming knocking. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, if you really want to do what Greg's done, if you really want to grow a business or whatever, especially speaking business, you got to get out there and be bold and believe and have your confidence.
Yes.
That is good.
Yeah, that helped me.
Yes.
And there is a whole other, like, if people accomplish stuff. So, there's professional athletes. Like, there's in this space, there are people who've had traumatic life experiences.
Yes.
Now they've got a story to tell. So there's a whole, like, just inspirational, motivational piece to this business, which I don't like,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
There's I got nothing. I got to create my own inspiration for people.
Yes. Which I feel like that's what makes your story even that much more awesome. Plus I was able to kind of be in the early days of seeing this happen. And I'm like, not everybody can do it great. You got to really have that. You have that and have been able to do that. But I feel like going through these things does give that person, like, if they got that willingness and that confidence to go get it.
Yeah.
These are true ways of making this happen.
I thought you wanted real life helpful things.
Yes, this is real life helpful things, ladies. I'm to let you know that I've seen this man do this stuff. Like, we're not just talking here and making stuff up.
No.
Like, this is real.
Listen, I just flew to Virginia. I didn't know one person.
Yeah.
I'm speaking at a breakout session down somewhere in this. And I'm going around. Listen, back then I was passing out a car. Hey, there's a session at 2 p.m. I know it's the afternoon, 2 to 2:50, breakout room. Foot the bill for all of it. So I'm like, you should come to this. Yeah. And then I realized that really wasn't kosher. They don't like speakers going out past breakout speakers. I was like, that's why I flew all the way from Oklahoma. I need to have more than 10 people in this room, man. I'm just working the odds here. Just give me some numbers where nobody knew me.
Hey, you're not supposed to sell your Listen, I flew from Oklahoma. I'm selling my stuff.
It's a breakout session. You're not giving me nothing for this. I'm working to be here. I'm trying to get one person to hire me.
I think I remember when, and I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Did you go to Canada like to one of these things?
I went to Canada to one event. Yeah, that made me international.
Yeah, it's like I remember you. I was like,
Yeah,
you doing what?
yeah, and that was a marketing trip.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you went there
Yes.
with the intentions of getting business.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Yep.
I gotta put myself
You are
in
right
front of
about it.
people.
You have a great memory. Yeah.
You're not sitting there for nothing. I know the story. Like I'm
You've
not
seen the effort made.
I didn't ask you to say this stuff. Like, no, I've seen this stuff. So,
Yeah.
all right, 4, find other people who are where you want to be.
Yeah.
That's
Listen.
now. I got some stories too with Greg.
What?
I remember. All right, I think this is a true story. A speaker comes to Stillwater.
Yeah. Listen, that's my best story. Because I mean, the backstory to that, is I reached out. He said no. He was in Dallas. He lived up north. He still lives up north.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, can I come take your coffee? No. I get on. I see his schedule. Hey, you're gonna be in Dallas. Can I come pick you up at the airport and drive you to your event? No. I have family there. I do. Can I come pick you up and drive you back to the airport? I will go wherever. No. He's coming to Stillwater. And so I reach out to him.
Yeah.
Hey, you're coming to Stillwater. Can I pick you up at the airport and drive you? No. Can I pick you up after your event, drive you back? No. Like, okay. So then, this is the first time that I've really hung out with Lorinda.
I was about to say you knew something.
Schrammel.
Yeah.
So she was the director up there. I had met her.
You
She
had a
hadn't
connection with
she
her at some
hadn't
point, though. Yeah.
No. She barely had it. Like,
But you had
great
a
friends.
tiny
now.
lie. Yeah.
I love this woman.
Yes,
She's
yes,
amazing.
yes.
And she's left just this past year. I did a lot of work with her this past decade. And so I called her and I said, hey, this guy is speaking and I'd like to meet him. And she kind of misinterpreted like I knew him. I'm not sure what
I bet she misinterpreted it.
So
my friend is coming to
I'm not sure exactly. I can't tell you the details. So I go up there, and so her and I are like know each other, but it's more weirdly professional.
Yeah.
Like, again, I haven't done all the work that we've done in the past now. And she said, "Hey, he's back having lunch. Come on back. He's by himself back there." Because I told her I was coming up to see him, and I hope. And so I was like, "Listen, Brenda, I don't actually know him." So like when we walk in there, don't be surprised when he goes, "Who are you? What are you doing?"
Call the police. Call the police.
Yeah, but let me just tell you, my strategy on that is, and we pick this up in our relational things. Is Jack Myrick is the master of this? Is if you want to accelerate trust immediately, share unique connection points.
Mm-hmm.
So because he grew up in the state, I grew up in Ohio.
Yeah.
And I knew everything about this man.
Oh, yeah.
So when I said, hey, I said something about the state that I lived. Hey, my first concert was at Boston Music Center. And I had something else to share that was right in his local town. And I'm not kidding, because he stood up. I said, hey, I've been the one emailing you about coming. So I was like, I know you know who I am, because you're probably not getting harassed by anybody else. And he's like, all right. And I said those two things. Literally, I said those two things. He says,
have a seat.
Yep. And we've been friends ever since.
How cool is that?
Yeah. He's a good dude.
That is so cool. No,
yeah,
but
that's the most aggressive.
Finding people where you want to be.
Yeah. And like I said, there's a gentleman here in town who that's speaks in a whole different kind of environment than I do, but has been in the business for a couple decades. And I reached out to him, and I literally would just meet with him like twice a year. Like I still have a regard for him that is just like he's such a different communicator than I am, but he's so good in his space. And so I would meet with him and just share my thoughts with him. He would literally say, "Here's exactly what you need to do. Do that." I would say, no. He said, "I'm not telling you this is what I think you should do." It was one of the best lines ever. "I'm not telling you what I think you should do. This is exactly what you should do." Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
so you
the two of you all are not too far off on being brutally honest with people and what you're thinking.
Yeah.
You might be two different people, but you're the same person as far as telling people exactly what's on your mind.
Yeah.
Would that not be true?
Yes, it would be very true. So I did that a couple times, and then I finally did go to an NSA, which is the National Speakers Association. I was like, I got to get, and I tried a mastermind group. I went there, and again, I'm pretty aggressive, so I'm like, hey, do you earn a mastermind? So I gathered people together, did a mastermind group for a year with random people. It was interesting because they were all in different, and I picked people that were in did different things than I did. So I just kind of understood. It lasted for a year, and I was like, hey, we don't want to keep doing this. Like, no, it's not generating the value, the time, and all that. So, but I did meet individuals, and now I have like a lot of individual speakers that I've met over the years that now are friends and colleagues that will share just thoughts. Like, it's been very helpful.
Yeah, no, that's good. And you and I talked about this before. I think we started recording. Where our mutual friend Derek wanted to get in the speaking business.
Mm-hmm.
5 or 6 of us met, and you all didn't even know Derek. I can reach out to everybody.
No, I didn't know Derek at all when we met.
Reached out to you all and had you come to Hoboken just because of this
He's
thing.
doing better than any of us now.
Yeah.
Dang it, Derek.
But just for this very reason, I knew like, man, let me try to connect you with people who are doing it, so, and it's been great for him. And again, everybody's adding value to each other.
And Derek's got a great, like the progression of how he's gone about and done. Like that's kind of the model.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not a straight path. It's not, I'm going to be a speaker. It's like you might do some subcontracting. You might get on a little team. You might connect with somebody else who's in it and they do their stuff for a little bit. So you just develop those chops and get an understanding of the industry because it's difficult to get business.
Yeah.
Like the speaking part of it is the easy part.
You can't be shy. You can't not. That's what I'm saying. You cannot do not think it's just going to happen. And another thing that I love about this conversation right now, and just nothing, this isn't about being on social media. It's like you're talking about showing up places, making calls, creating content, getting out there, establish yourself, go and talk as much as you can. So now I love social media, right?
Yeah.
I believe in it. I think it's important. I would say for me, that's probably been the one way that I probably got most of mine because I don't just get out there and do that. But if you want to build a business, if you want to survive, you're giving them a real game plan on what this needs to look like.
It's what's worked for me.
Yeah.
Like we use social media, but I don't get business from it. It's a credibility. It's a communication tool. I can interact with people.
Keeping people stand in front of people.
People like to hire people who are working.
Yeah.
So, I make a point. I'm speaking.
Yes.
I need to let you know that.
Yeah.
So I'm still out here doing it. If you need me.
Yeah.
And that's the subliminal, subtle message of, hey, this is what I'm going to keep you informed of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, but I don't use it as a primary.
Yeah.
It doesn't bring in any business.
And I would say that intentionally, I was not doing that at first, but people saw what I was doing in my community, my town, the way that I use social media. Then people asked me, hey, would you come and do XYZ around what they saw me doing?
Yeah.
Right. And and then I just turned that into a go in talk. But again, this is a sure way if you want to build it, not a sure way, but this is a game plan. These are some things you should get out there and try. And the fifth thing was speak as much as possible.
Yeah. And so I did a lot of and I'd already in my previous life done a lot of speaking.
Yes. Yeah.
So I already thought I was good, but it's a different market. Like it's a different audience and what they value is different. And so, I subcontracted. So I was doing other people's stuff for a couple years. And in the middle of that, making my own stuff up. I was doing the HR conferences and then still getting paid by another company, whether it was with Jack and traveling and doing those events. But it was a lot of speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And then speaking your own message, it's just, it doesn't get developed until you've just spoken a bunch. Because the things that stick out to you, the things, you get so much from an audience that is like, They like it, don't like it. They laugh at stuff. They don't laugh at stuff.
Yeah.
And then they come up and give you feedback. That's what I love about everybody hears what they need to hear.
Yeah.
I didn't even say that happens almost every time.
Yeah.
Really, because I'm always like, tell me one thing you got from the message.
Yeah.
That's always my go-to line afterwards. Really loved your message. It was really great. Tell me one thing you got from it. Tell me one thing that's useful. That's my go-to. And they'll say something like, I don't even think I said that. But, they extracted what they needed. But then hearing, oh, so that's how they took that. That's what was useful for them. And that's gold.
Yeah.
Like you don't get that without out there just speaking and letting other people hear it and giving you feedback. Now, I'm not much of a, people take surveys in these things. I don't put a whole lot of stock in, like they give me a survey afterwards and people say this. I'm like, I need to. They might have been tired. They might have had a fight. They might not have had coffee.
They didn't want to be there. Like,
who knows?
Because somebody had to come because of their boss or whatever the case may be. And so
the one-on-one feedback, talking to people right afterwards, kind of the first impression lets you know kind of what resonated, which is really useful.
Yeah.
Like it's really useful because you edit the message. Like you're just, I'm still editing the message.
Yeah.
Like literally I spoke yesterday and I had to take a whole section out. And then I leaned into a part of it that I don't lean into as much because it's kind of was like, that's the audience had this draw on that, so it was fun. Like I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
That's how messages stay I don't have anything canned. I got the same message, but it is literally different every time I speak.
It's like, so people be like, will you come and do, like, what's it going to be? I'm like, I really don't know. I can tell you the gist of what I am going to try to deliver and bring, what I will bring around this particular idea, thought. But I may get in the room and sense something completely different, and I'm gonna go that way. Or I notice, And so there's just a lot of different things there, and that's worked. I think once I stop trying to say this is what it's going to be, and start saying this is going to be the general premise, this is what you're going to get out of me as a person, and it seemed to work much better. So.
For me, having the framework, like knowing, like here are the three principles of rapids, of the navigating change. Here they are. Here are the 5 attributes of an owner. Like I got that framework, and then I can just dance around in it. Or when because hearing what people's needs are, what they want, like here's what we need from this message. Like okay, well I'll be conscious of that. I'm gonna use some of your language. That's the other thing that I learned over time.
Using their language,
using just one or two bits. This is the insider secret here.
Yes.
Insider. It's just good thing we got this at the end. If people made it all the way through this thing, you deserve to hear this. If you just pick up one or two words that are specific to that space and you incorporate them, it exaggerates your credibility.
Yes. You can see it in their eyes. Once you start connecting with them through their language, they're like, "Oh, wait, he knows. He knows.
And it just lifts.
He's been there." I love it whenever, because typically the boss is not the person that I'm communicating with.
Right.
And so when I get in the room and I start talking, and then the boss sees me talking about, like, "Oh,
he knows us."
Super impressed too, because he's like, "Oh, they ask questions about, or I'll learn things about the boss." What sports they play, or what's their favorite team, what's their favorite, and I will add that into Jimmy, when that Mexican, like whatever that is, it's just those kind of things that kind of help spark. So
they're huge. They don't just help, Eddie.
Yeah,
they're huge.
Yeah,
in people's connectedness to you. When you use a phrase or talk about a location, sometimes I'll speak at places that have like multiple locations, and you reference the city that they're in or the street that they're on. It is almost weird.
Yeah.
That then they're just so unguarded and they're like, all right, you know us.
Yeah.
Everything you're saying is true.
Let's roll.
It's if you're going to be in the speaking business, when you do your discovery call, listen for the language, get on the website, look at their values and see what really tracks.
Get all that.
And just drop one or two words
in
the message, and it lands. And so it's really useful.
Yeah.
Like it's like you're not tricking anybody. As the speaker, you're trying to get them to be receptive.
Yeah.
So how do you let their guard down? They don't want to be there. What are you doing that's causing them to go, hey, this ain't that bad.
Yeah.
This is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So get them to lean in. That's just one of those things.
Those are key things. I got to do a discovery call right now. So ladies and gentlemen, Greg, tell them where they can find you.
hawksagency.com, HAWKSAGENCY.com, on LinkedIn, Instagram, Greg Hawks. Just search
And
me.
Greg he is one of the most thoughtful website, whatever you want to call it. Go see his website. It's great, and he's put a lot of thought into it. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you for hitting that play button for another episode of the Heady Coleman Podcast.
Thank you.
And as always, go win.